speak, while 7 MPs have been suspended by the government, which claims that opposition is not really following the decorum.
So it's going to be full-on confrontation inside the parliament today as well, where Rahul Gandhi and the Congress MPs have labelled the government as being anti-democracy. But the Prime Minister, as of now, is expected to speak at 5 p.m. The government has accused the opposition parties, particularly the Congress party, of betraying all the norms of parliamentary democracy.
Right. So let's begin with the headlines first. First up, like we said, amidst the parliament showdown over Rahul's China claims, 8 opposition MPs suspended. More drama expected today. Amidst ruckus in parliament, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to speak in the House, likely around 5 p.m. this evening. BJP spokesperson Shehzad Poonawala's mother injured in Pune hit and run, alleges deliberate attack. Sources in the government say India and United States have agreed on the first phase of the bilateral trade agreement. India and US will now work on finalizing the joint statement, followed by signing of the deal. After India-US deal finalized, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met US Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington ahead of an inaugural ministerial on critical minerals. And politics erupts over trade deal. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal blames Rahul Gandhi for not letting the government share details about the US-India trade deal in Parliament because ugly scenes were created by him. Air India Indigo wings collide on ground at Mumbai airport with passengers on board. No injuries reported. DGCA probe underway. And in international news, ex-Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's son killed by armed gang allegedly, gunmen who stormed his home in western Libya's Zinta. So the focus continues to be on Parliament. Pallavi has lost her voice because of all the screaming. Rahul Gandhi claims that his voice is also being fought.
No, I haven't really lost my voice, but yes, it's a bad throat, so I'm sorry. But as they say, news has to go on. Well, this is going to be completely a full-on confrontation, is something which we have been talking about inside Parliament. Rahul Gandhi wrote a letter to the Speaker, Om Birla, where he has accused the government of not allowing the LOP to speak. We've got Aman Sharma with us, we've got Arun Dhanta and Payal Mehta, who have been covering all the details. But to you first, Payal, 5 p.m. the Prime Minister is going to speak.
At least that is what the government has plans as of now, because 18 hours of discussion were allocated by the Lok Sabha in the Business Advisory Committee, where there is no Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his team. There's everybody from the opposition also is part of this as well. They decided 18 hours we'll have a discussion and then the Prime Minister will really reply. So today the deadline is 5 p.m. because the Prime Minister has to speak in the Rajya Sabha tomorrow. The discussion is going on pretty smooth in the Rajya Sabha. So we'll have to just wait and see what the government strategy really will be, because they did not expect that they'll have to suspend 8 MPs yesterday. That has happened. After which there was a long 2-hour meeting that Rajnath Singh, Kiran Rijiju, Prahlad Joshi, senior ministers in the government, Dharmendra Pradhan had with the Lok Sabha Speaker. Yesterday the Lok Sabha Speaker did not take chair because he felt that he was completely disrespected by Rahul Gandhi by not adhering to what he was really saying.
Yes, so what did Rahul Gandhi really say? Exactly what happened inside Lok Sabha? This tamasha has gone on for over 2 days. Let's just dip in to what really happened in Lok Sabha.
Speaker, sir, if the issue is about me quoting a magazine, which I have authenticated, I am happy not to quote it directly. No problem. But I have to be allowed to speak about it.
Yeah. Honorable LOP,
You have,
Shri
Speaker,
Rahul
sir.
Gandhi ji,
Chairman,
please
sir. Chairman,
listen.
sir. Chairman, sir.
You have been given permission to speak on the Honorable President's speech.
I am speaking.
What are you telling? What permission are telling to LOP?
Chairman, sir, I am objecting to the word permission. That is not the correct word, because I am not given permission by anyone. I am leader of opposition. So I'm just objecting to that. And all I am saying is I want to make a statement about what happened between China and India and how our Prime Minister reacted to it. Why am I being stopped? Sir, in Ladakh, in eastern Ladakh, there was a conflict. Our soldiers were killed.
It's very unfortunate that Parliament is being treated like this by Mr. Modi and Amit Shah. They wanted to demolish the parliamentary procedures. They are not allowing the leader of opposition to speak in the parliament. Whole day yesterday, his speech was not allowed. 4 hours his time was allotted for Congress party. He was not allowed to speak.
100% it's wrong. जब तक उन्होंने बिल्कुल हमें प्रवोक नहीं किया, हम तब तक अंदर नहीं गए. हम सुनते रहे, रिक्वेस्ट करते रहे, हाथ जोड़ते रहे कि प्लीज let LOP speak.
Honorable opposition leader tries to raise his voice, but unfortunately it was not allowed. It was then we started our protest, raising our slogans, and we got onto the table. So it was purely in a democratic manner. When he was denied and other speakers were given the right to speak, we objected it.
So, Aman, what the government is accusing the opposition of is that you were suspended because you did not follow parliamentary protocol. Rahul Gandhi's letter to the Speaker, how is the government reacting to that? Will he get a chance to speak? Will the Prime Minister's speech be allowed?
See, Arunima, I think the moot question is that this is the reply to the President's address. But Rahul Gandhi does not want to speak on the President's address. Rahul Gandhi wants to speak on the unpublished book of the former army chief. He wants to speak on the Epstein files, which have come to revelation in the US. So these two things clearly were not mentioned by the President in her address. That is the main objection of the government as well as the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, that you should stick to what the President said and you reply to that. You criticize the government, you have all the rights as the LOP, but don't speak on outside the ambit of the President's address. That too on a book which is yet not published. You are basically basing your entire argument, entire speech on a magazine article, and as per the parliament rules, how much can you rely on newspaper and magazines to in a way derail the parliament? That is the government's basic, I think, objection to all of this. Also, even if we say, though the government has said that the magazine version which Rahul is citing is totally concocted, but even if it is not concocted, what does the book really say as per the media excerpts which have appeared, that the defense minister apparently told the then army chief that do as per the military protocol, aap action lene ke liye swatantra hai. Isn't that what the government is anyway supposed to say? Tell the army. It's a military decision. The government doesn't dictate the way army or the air force should respond. It is left to the wisdom of the military forces. So in a way, some government sources are also saying that though the government appeared, too defensive in parliament, and why is this even being picked up? Even what Rahul Gandhi is saying essentially is not going so much against the government as well. Yes, the book is not published for 2 years. There are army rules regarding that, which is vetting it, and that is a call that the government will take. But number one is that, and I think also because he's the LOP, of course he has the right to speak, but you don't have a right to speak on whatever you wish to. The government is saying you stick to the President's address. I think that is what Rahul Gandhi is not sticking to. And now Rahul Gandhi writing to the Speaker saying he's not being allowed to speak in Parliament. I think the government is very clear. Nobody is stopping Rahul Gandhi from speaking, but he should not speak unsubstantiated and concocted versions of something which have happened in the past.
Right. So, the authentication business, Pallavi, Rahul Gandhi yesterday said that the Speaker asked me to authenticate. I have authenticated it. So, what is the problem?
So there's different rules within the parliament which makes it clear that you cannot quote from a book or from a magazine. You cannot quote banners and posters. So when he began to speak on day one, he very clearly made this the issue that this is the article I'm referring to. This is from a book. The book, of course, mind you, has not been published because the book is still to get a clearance as far as the MOD is concerned. You may want to click and buy that book, but that book is not going to be delivered to you because that clearance hasn't come in. The government's argument consistently is that, first of all, how do you know it's verified? It's not even verified material on the basis of which you're hinging your entire response to the motion of thanks to the President. Well, the government may say so, but clearly Rahul Gandhi is not listening. Rahul Gandhi's point is very, very clear that as far as I am concerned, there is enough material to prove that, that there's something which went wrong and the government's China policy was completely faulty. Arun, the thing over here is that yesterday Rahul Gandhi, and what Congress sources told us, is that Rahul Gandhi's strategy is very simple. It's not just going to be about the Rane's book. It's also going to be about issues like the Prime Minister buckled under pressure. Prime Minister has compromised the country as far as the deal is concerned, and he's scared. And he's scared, and that's why he surrendered to Donald Trump's bullying, so to say, as far as the Indo-US trade deal is concerned. The BJP is counter to that.
Well, see, Pallavi, of course, we know it's a historic deal between the United States and India. Of course, there are some questions which opposition is raising that needs to be answered. Specifically, when Donald Trump or United States talk about that zero tariff on their products. So which are the products which comes under that category? That's a very, very important answer, and that needs clarity also. Secondly, when they say that India will buy $500 billion products from United States, what are the timeline for that? Because $500 billion is a huge amount. The entire year's budget of India is $543 billion. So what is the time frame for that? And also importantly, when it comes to, when yesterday the Agriculture Secretary of United States talk about that liberalization of the agriculture sector of India for United States, that's also a very important question. So these are the questions which not only the opposition, but in fact people of the country would also want to know. I think that's something where you will get clarity once it is responded in the parliament. Today Prime Minister Modi is going to speak. We'll have to see whether he touch upon on those points, and also importantly the reply which government is giving in parliament on that specific issue. These are the important things which everybody would be looking at.
I think government sources also, at least what they are telling me, we have to wait for the official version of the Indian government, but this 500 billion figure, what I'm told, is spread over 5 years. So it will be 100 billion each year. Right now, our imports from America are about 45 billion in a year. So we'll be effectively doubling our imports from America. So American goods will come and double the measure, almost 100 billion a year. And I think that what the government sources are telling me, it will be possible because of the LNG purchases, the oil purchases are going to be ramped up, also cashew nuts.
So that will be included in this.
And let me just tell you all that even before the trade deal was struck, and basically Dola Sen is she chairs the committee for commerce. In that committee report, even before the trade deal was struck, our exports were already on the rise as far as the figures were concerned to America.
So when the Prime Minister speaks today, Payal, will we get the first statement on the floor of the House clarifying especially the agriculture sector?
I do not think that the Prime Minister will specifically speak on the US deal because he's got a lot more stake than we have. But he will definitely highlight what the Indian government's foreign policy has been, that we've been able to strike so many deals as well. In fact, yesterday when I was speaking in the closed door meeting of the BJP and in the NDA, he said one thing very, very clearly, that India is a great contributor to the world economy. I think that is something which he'll really stand by. So we'll have to just wait and see what his comments are really going to be. But most definitely he will be tom-tomming the fact that his government has worked very, very hard to make all these deals possible. Nothing has happened overnight.
Well, and the FTAs are also going to be one achievement which is going to be followed. And the Congress, I think, is going to make this the issue that when the House is in session, why did the Commerce Minister speak outside? But yesterday, the Commerce Minister, at his press briefing, made it very clear to us. Many people may criticize him for saying, why was he attacking only Rahul Gandhi? The reason is, first of all, the nitty-gritty of the deal has not yet been worked out. That still has to be inked, it has to be signed, and it's only after that you divulge the details of the deal. Second thing is, the fact that the Commerce Minister focused on Rahul Gandhi, he made it a political press conference. So that is an effective counter to the Congress's claim.
Maybe the dead economy jibe that Rahul Gandhi took must have really triggered Piyush Goyal and the others, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's why he kept on talking about the fact that, look at the kind of language you're using. And remember his press conference, and he flew down specially from Mumbai for this press conference. We were told that, the statement was ready. The government's mood was to make a kind of a statement on the floor of the House. But the House is adjourned repeatedly.
Yeah, so one thing, if you allow me, in Rajya Sabha, the House was running. So that's what the opposition is highlighting, that if you did not want to make that statement in Lok Sabha because of whatever political reasons, why could you not take the upper house into confidence? And upper house members from the opposition actually walked out yesterday over this deal. So in the upper house, you could see a lot of halla gulla on the statement as well.
We have to also, I think, that we should clarify the point that Pallavi is also mentioning, that the trade deal is not signed yet. Okay, when we saw the India-EU, the trade negotiations ended, there was a complete, document which specified what item get taxed at what. This is not the case so far. I think what has happened, what I am told is that Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi have had a call. Top on the chart was that India wants these 25% reciprocal tariffs to be lowered because India has been taxed at the highest rate. Trump has agreed to make it 18%. Now, the rest of the 25%, the oil purchases, apparently they will go. Sergio Gore has said on record to Zaka Jacob over that phone call 2 nights ago that the 25% additional tariffs will also go. Now, very important to understand that the additional 25% tariffs were put on us because we were buying a lot of Russian oil which was discounted, which was non-sanctioned at that particular point of time. Today, 2 leading Russian firms, oil is now sanctioned. Anyways, we can't buy it from them. The discounted attraction is no longer there. So, obviously, even in the months we have seen, the quantity is coming down. So, I think Trump is doubling down on the fact that because India is coming down on buying Russian oil and because we're going to buy US and Venezuelan oil, which was sanctioned in 2022 when we started buying Russian oil, that is why I think the negotiation so far is on the tariff rate, which has come down from 50% to 18%. The fine print of the trade deal, how much agri products we're going to allow, which agri products we're going to allow, which dairy products we're going to allow, I think that all is still under negotiation. It will take maybe months for it to be decided. But only when Donald Trump comes to India, maybe for the Quad Summit, that's what I'm told, that the trade deal could finally be signed.
And that's the reason probably the government is treading very carefully. Otherwise a very vocal Hardeep Puri has been completely quiet on the issue because obviously nobody wants to jump the gun.
And 2 point, Arunima, which in fact Pallavi was there in press conference, which Piyush Goyal made. The one is, of course, he said that government was ready to make a statement in the parliament on that. It is because of Rahul Gandhi that he was continuously creating that situation, chaos was happening, they didn't do it. Secondly, what he said, because this is also criticism of the government, that why did Donald Trump made this announcement? So he said that he was the one who levied that 50% tariff on India. So how would we know when he's planning to drop down? So he's the only one who will make that announcement. That's why it happened.
And Trump has always trumped India and making announcements anyway. So, we can't really control what Trump does. But I think government was a bit late that night because they also thought maybe that parliament is on.
Just to give you an anecdote, a few weeks ago, we had asked one top BJP leader about Donald Trump. He said, हमारे पास ना Donald Trump है ना हम किसी को Donald Trump बनाना चाहते.
Should we take the political reactions? There are a lot of political reactions.
There's plenty of chatter, of course, and there's much we have all want to share. But we have to go in for all the political reactions. Let's listen into them, and then we're going to come back.
देखो, इस विषय पे मैं बहुत बता चुका हूँ, सदन में भी मैंने कहा है कि राहुल गांधी बार बार सेम चीज रिपीट करता है कि बोलने नहीं देते हैं और हम लोग उल्टा उसको कह रहे हैं कि आप बोलिए. वो बोलता है नियम से बाहर बोलेंगे. जो लोकसभा राज्यसभा में जो रूल्स ऑफ बिजनेस प्रोसीजर है ना, जो कंडक्ट करने का रूल्स होते हैं, ये रूल्स हमने नहीं बनाया. ये रूल्स राहुल गांधी जी के दादा दादी के समय में बनाया है.
क्या कहेंगे मैम आप? एकदम लोकतंत्र है, सबको बोलने की इजाजत होनी चाहिए, सबकी बात सुननी चाहिए. क्या कहेंगे मैम आप? है, एकदम लोकतंत्र है, सबको बोलने की इजाजत होनी चाहिए, सबकी बात सुननी चाहिए.
Sir, what really transpired today, because we saw somebody talking to you very disrespectfully?
While the house was going on, somebody mentioned addressing the chair as young, so which I thought was not correct because there has to be decorum in the house, and somebody else was supporting that. What's wrong in it? So I was calling for maintenance and of decorum. That's what it says.
Raja Baring says he did not call you Yar, and he said nobody called you Yar. It is just that the NDA is playing games against them.
I think they'll be recording the videos, they'll play it and see who said what.
So, Payal, you were making a point before we had to go in for a political reaction. In the parliament today, the opposition quarter said yesterday that Makar Dwar protest will continue. If need be, more MPs could join the 8 suspended at Makar Dwar. The government
well, of course, the reason that the 8 MPs got suspended is because their behavior was not acceptable. You cannot get onto the speaker's chair. You cannot get onto the table in front of the speaker and try to block his view. That is something which the government took a very, very stern view of. Yesterday, Om Birla did not take to the chair because he was very upset. Today we'll have to just wait and see what they really do. But the fact remains that can the opposition come in from this point of view that we won't let the government allow business to be conducted, we won't let the Prime Minister speak. What kind of threats are these? Are they allowed as well? So that's something which the government will certainly focus on. Two important things are scheduled to happen today in the morning at about 10:15. Rajnath Singh is expected to chair a meeting of strategy where top ministers of the government, whether it's Ashwini Vaishnav, Bhupendra Yadav, Dharmendra Pradhan, all will be present as well. And we'll have to just wait and see if the Lok Sabha Speaker is able to draw any sense within the rest of the opposition. Because yesterday, when I was roaming around the political corridors in Parliament, I could hear a lot of young MPs from TMC being very upset that they were not being allowed to speak, and while Rahul Gandhi was taking everybody for a joyride.
But also when there was a moment, I would say, of unity when the speaker tosses the floor to Shatabdi Roy and DMK. All of them refused to speak. But they are poll-bound states, DMK, West Bengal. They would also want to make their point of view, because after all, when you sit inside Parliament, you're actually addressing your constituency.
Also, I think the TMC MPs will be busy today. Mamata Banerjee going to the Supreme Court. She could actually walk in there.
They didn't go with her anywhere yesterday as well. So they are going to be very much there. In fact, the ones cribbing the most were the TMC MPs, and they really said that what do? We have elections coming up. We want to speak on SR. We want to speak on multiple issues. But very conspicuous yesterday was the absence of Akhilesh Yadav, because after Rahul Gandhi,
doing a press conference in Lucknow.
So they seem to be pretty much, with the Congress party on this issue.
So Akhilesh went to Lucknow to do a press conference.
TMC MPs are very much focused on Mamata Banerjee's visit right now. And in fact, the photograph which I saw Mamata Banerjee in the stairs of Supreme Court, I think that's something which, and in fact, I was covering around TMC Mamata Banerjee's visit also. There, the kind of drama which she created outside her Banga Bhavan, that was, and immediately, cameras started moving towards her, and she started having that conversation with the police walas. What are you doing here? Why are you here?
In fact, Kalyan Banerjee was the sole, lone ranger, along with one more MP when he went off to where the Prime Minister was sitting. No other MPs were there when he walked off. So TMC is also trying to make their point.
In fact, senior leader in the TMC, Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, was telling me yesterday that there was no plan of Mamata Banerjee actually going and confronting the Delhi police. She saw that really happened. She was getting ready. She just immediately, that's Mamata Banerjee. She instantly stepped out.
Always has a plan. So, and she's got that Kolkata police also come down, making a larger point. Look, I'm being targeted, I'm being threatened. But moving away from the Trinamool Congress, I know there are elections coming up in West Bengal. Aman, let's take a guess. What do you think the Prime Minister is going to speak about?
Today?
Yeah.
Well, I think it will be mostly, I think the Prime Minister could use the occasion to speak about the historic union budget. What has happened in the budget, the kind of what Nirmala Sitharaman has said in a budget. I think an economic survey, the Prime Minister gets a chance to speak on it in Parliament. I think the Parliament, Mr. Modi will dwell on that, and Nirmala Sitharaman also in her interview to us has very clearly said that how important this budget is in the run-up to 2047 Viksit Bharat plan. The Prime Minister could dwell a lot on that. Economy of India is right now the shining star. We are the fastest growing economy in the world right now. So I think the Prime Minister would dwell a lot on that, on the growth start ahead for the ministries, for his plans for his government, whatever the President has also said. I think he would also mention the two deals happening within a week. The deal with the EU first, which happened, and now not a deal with the US, but at least a tariff deal with the US. I don't know how much the Prime Minister would dwell into it, but he would definitely, I think, mention that we have been able to achieve trade deals with a host of countries. Not just EU, not just a tariff deal with the US, but many other countries we've managed to achieve it, in which many other countries have not been able to do it. And as Payal was reporting yesterday, his words in that all-party NDA meeting that the patience and perseverance of India has paid off. This is diplomacy. We didn't succumb to the threats and the blackmail and the, in a way, the domineering attitude of Donald Trump. We have stuck to our guns, safeguarded our agriculture and dairy sectors. I would be really interested to see if the Prime Minister dwells in on all that, because yesterday we did get that top source based information that India has really not given much on the dairy and the agri sector. Of course, the devil is in the fine print whenever it comes. But so far, India wants to safeguard its dairy and agriculture sector. And also, I think a clarification maybe on this 100 billion per year import that we plan to do from the US, because Trump has put out the figure of 500 billion, not specifying the time frame for the same.
It's over 5 years. This was clarified by the Commerce Minister also yesterday. It's 500 billion over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
Yes, as we are speaking, DMK MP Tiruchi Siva has given a notice demanding that the details of the deal be mentioned in the House, also saying that Parliament was respect was not shown to the Parliament because the briefing was done outside. So as we were discussing, opposition
but
will.
For Piyush Goyal to make a statement, the House has to be in order. They are not running away from a statement. They are coming from a position of strength. But if the House is not in order, what do you do?
Tiruchi Siva is arguing Rajya Sabha was functioning. That that's his argument. But Arun, when the Prime Minister speaks today, because Tejasvi Surya turned out to be the trigger for Rahul Gandhi's, outburst, that reference to UPA not doing anything about our civilization and President's address, do you think Prime Minister could dwell on that without naming Surya or by naming Surya?
Well, see, Pallavi, one thing is very clear that you have 5 states will be going to polls, and this is a great opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to actually talk about the works which his government has done, and specifically about these states. And you spoke about Prime Minister's address. Opposition parties are saying that they will not let Prime Minister Modi to speak. So that is also going to be an interesting bit there as to what Chairman or Speaker will have to do there, because they are making it very clear that they will not let Prime Minister speak because they did not allow LOP Rahul Gandhi to speak. So as far as Prime Minister Modi's speech is concerned, it will of course, I think about the developmental works which his government has been doing, and also of course the areas which President covered in the address, and also of course the budget. So Prime Minister has a lot to speak, and opportunities also there. So I think we'll be bracing for this important speech of Prime Minister Modi.
One interesting thing I would like to point out, I was speaking to a senior BJP leader yesterday, and they were comparing that India-US deals have always been very political in India. But he was pointing to the Manmohan Singh era when the Indo-US nuclear deal was done in a way. They said at that point of time, Mr. Vajpayee showed statesmanship, backed the government, because he realized that that particular deal was in national interest, in people's interest. But today he said, the top BJP leader told me that today that maturity is lacking on the opposition side. Rahul Gandhi, without even knowing what we have really decided with the US, is slamming us for selling out the country. This is not really a mature and a statesman-like approach what the BJP had shown when Mr. Manmohan Singh was signing that particular deal. It was due to BJP support, in fact, at that point of time, that key Samajwadi Party support, that the deal went through. So that statesmanship, because now it's become, the BJP leader was telling me more about political brickmanship, about Rahul Gandhi's ego, that without even knowing the fine print of the deal, you're accusing the Prime Minister of the country of selling off the country to the US. That is really what the leader told me, pretty immature. And when the deals, when the tariff details and the deal details actually come out, this leader told me Rahul Gandhi may actually be very, very surprised. Congress may actually be very surprised how Mr. Modi has shown this pragmatism over a year to not succumb to the US. There have been many allegations against the Prime Minister over the last 1 year by the Congress that why are we facing 50% tariffs? Now, when we come down to 18% tariffs, again the Prime Minister is being targeted that, you've sold out the country. So I think that is what the BJP may also want to impress on the floor of the House, that on certain points and on certain issues, there needs to be wider political consensus when it comes to dealing with them.
Right. So 5 p.m. the Prime Minister is scheduled to speak. Pallavi, Payal, Aman, Arun, all of us will be there to get you all the details of what the Prime Minister says. But we'll also have to wait and watch as to what Rahul Gandhi and the suspended MPs really do.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Now remember, on one hand you've had the MAGA base, which has of course been drawing the line in the sand about how there should be greater pressure being mounted on India in terms of these tariffs. But on the other hand, you also have the Indian American community, which has been rallying for Washington and New Delhi to finally arrive on the same page. And so CNN News 18 has been bringing you all those voices. Let's listen in to what Nisha Biswal, one of the entrepreneurs from the United States, has had to say. Nisha, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18. You've, of course, welcomed the trade agreement, which is yet not a deal. And you've also focused on how much will rest on the implementation of it. Why do you say so?
Well, first of all, great to be with you. Look, it's an exciting moment in time right now after nearly a year of watching U.S.-India ties be strained because of the trade tariffs. So this is an important moment. It is not a trade agreement per se. It's a phase 1 agreement. There are certainly more chapters to be negotiated, but it's an important moment. I think, first of all, removing the 50% tariffs and replacing that with an 18% rate. While 18% is not ideal, it does actually place India much more competitively vis-a-vis its peers across Asia, and frankly the rest of the world, with only Europe and the UK being able to, have better outcomes. Secondly, I think that it removes a huge irritant in the relationship. I think the US and India have important issues that they need to be able to collaborate and cooperate on, important strategic challenges that they face, areas where we have a great deal of convergence. And so this removes an irritant and allows that cooperation to continue. And I think it's a really positive sign that Minister Jaishankar is here in Washington this week for the Critical Minerals Summit, where both India and the US and many of our partners across Europe are facing some serious challenges from Chinese dominance in the critical mineral supply chain. So I look forward to that resumption of US-India cooperation.
It's very interesting that you talk about the critical minerals ministerial meet being presided over by the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. India has one of the largest reserves in the world, but lacks the technology to refine it. The US also has its set of reserves. So how can India and the United States join hands, especially when it comes to challenging the Chinese dominance when it comes to rare earth minerals, which, as we all know, are playing a very crucial role in securing supply chains in defense equipment, AI, semiconductors, etc.?
Absolutely. And let me just tell you, here at the Asia Group, where I'm a partner, we are facing with our clients these kinds of questions all the time. As you see that critical mineral supply chain challenges have really grappled, obstructed the automotive sector, semiconductors. As we look at the AI boom, having that secure and reliable supply of critical minerals is so important to our defense and security establishment, but also to our economies. And I can tell you from my time at the Development Finance Corporation that some of the issues that companies grapple with is Chinese market manipulation of critical minerals, so that when you have investment from other countries to try to support processing and diversification of processing and diversification of supply chains, China is able to intervene because it controls so much of the supply to manipulate the market to make it really difficult for investors to be able to invest and for operators to be able to operate. And so I think what the summit is going to do is look at, bring together like-minded nations and look at these problems and talk about, what are some of the things that
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Now, remember, on one hand, you've had the MAGA base, which has, of course, been drawing the line in the sand about how there should be greater pressure being mounted on India in terms of these tariffs. But on the other hand, you also have the Indian American community, which has been rallying for Washington and New Delhi to finally arrive on the same page. And so CNN News 18 has been bringing you all those voices. Let's listen in to what Nisha Biswal, one of the entrepreneurs from the United States, has had to say. Nisha, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18. You've, of course, welcomed the trade agreement, which is yet not a deal. And you've also focused on how much will rest on the implementation of it. Why do you say so?
Well, first of all, great to be with you. And look, it's an exciting moment in time right now after nearly a year of watching U.S.-India ties be strained because of the trade tariffs. So this is an important moment. It is not a trade agreement per se. It's a phase one agreement. There are certainly more chapters to be negotiated, but it's an important moment. I think, first of all, removing the 50% tariffs and replacing that with an 18% rate. While 18% is not ideal, it does actually place India much more competitively vis-a-vis its peers across Asia, and frankly the rest of the world, with only Europe and the UK being able to, have better outcomes. Secondly, I think that it removes a huge irritant in the relationship. I think the US and India have important issues that they need to be able to collaborate and cooperate on, important strategic challenges that they face, areas where we have a great
Welcome back to CNN News 18. Thank you so much for staying with us. Here's the latest that we're bringing for you right now. Shocker from Ghaziabad. 3 minor sisters allegedly died by suicide after jumping from the 9th floor of a Ghaziabad residential tower, with initial inputs pointing to mobile game addiction as a possible factor. It is being said that the 3 sisters did everything together, including bathing, eating, going to school, sleeping, and all other daily activities. Now, last night at approximately 2 a.m., all 3 jumped together from the 9th floor. This is what we're given to understand has happened, a completely shocking and tragic case which has come to light right now. For more on this, we have Simran live with us. Simran, what is happening? What do we know right now?
Well, this is the extent of what we can understand so far of the police investigation in this case related to the online gaming addiction, the case that has been coming forward. Tragic and unfortunate, as these 3 minor sisters who were inseparable and used to also in fact do and engage into regular activities together, who used to reside in Ghaziabad's Bharat City residential township, they decided to jump off the 9th floor of their building, and the incident has reported at around 2 a.m. Yesterday, and when exactly the police was also alerted. Now the bodies have been sent for post-mortem, and the police has started the investigation in this case. But what we know so far, as the statement from the police has also come in regards with this case, which is very shocking. It has left the entire neighborhood into the state of shock, given that nobody could see the addiction coming at this extent.
But really, I'm going to have to probe that a little further. Gaming addiction, how exactly did that lead to this? Were they perhaps betting money? What was really happening? Because if the parents are objecting...
These are the minors, Hem. Let me also tell you about the age. It's 12 and 14 and 16. And all of these children and these girls, in fact, also did not used to regularly attend the school. This is what the police in the initial investigation and the statement recording of the evidence with the family members has revealed. And when we speak of the betting part, and also if that was done to earn money or to get into that addiction, to also in fact get involved in this, for them, that police has to also probe. So far the family has not made any claims, but the family is of course in a state of complete shock and grief, given how serious this concern has been, and mostly overlooked, as they did not see the consequences coming. But they have revealed to the police in the statements that initial factor to be probed so far is believed to be online gaming addiction. Given they were told, the children, the girls were told to not be engaged on their phone for so long.
All right,
but
Simran,
reportedly what really began as a huge addiction started from the COVID-19 pandemic, when all of these students, when everything was online, and parents have disclosed that during COVID-19 they started playing the games, and ever since it has become a huge issue for them to also now stop it.
Absolutely, Simran. Of course, as you mentioned, also we are waiting for more details, but from the initial inputs, this seems extremely suspect, doesn't it? Because that's what the parents are saying, that online gaming had something to do with this. That being said, of course, there are no details as to what really led them to take such a huge tragedy. How does that happen? Of course, we are going to have to wait to see what the sequence of events was. But you're saying that there's been no further statement from the family?
Well, absolutely. In fact, as this incident has just been reported and the police has reached to the spot, the Ghaziabad police is also probing this case further, and now more details will come forward as to what really happened, what was the trigger point, basically what really led to this. And now the family, as more people in the family and their relatives also begin to speak, they will be also giving out details how exactly the incidents were reported into the sequence of events that led to this trigger point. Because basically it was the night time when they decided to reach onto that ninth floor, and why and how were they not looked into, and who was keeping a surveillance on them, all of these questions, that's a part of the police probe so far. Because when the police reached, the three bodies were lying on the street, and the families alerted, and they were not able to also explain to the police at that point of time. Now the Ghaziabad police is also going to lodge a case and further start investigating into all these angles that we are speaking about it, and the questions are also being raised given how serious this entire online gaming addiction has turned out to. There are many other cases across the country as well, from Rajasthan to even Lucknow, where teens, mostly in the age group of 13 to 25, and the adults as well, have been severely addicted to the
Right.
online gaming app, and also most of them going to the extent of killing and committing serious criminal offenses if also there is an attempt to stop them.
Right, Simran, but of course there are so many questions. As you mentioned, this happened around 2 a.m. Was there nobody looking after them? Was there no surveillance? What really happened there? You're telling me that the ages are from 12 to 16, all three sisters, and you mentioned earlier that gaming was perhaps affecting their studies as well. Was it the pressure or academic pressure that they thought that they weren't able to deal with anymore? Were they being pressurized by their
No,
family? There's so many other...
certainly there was no academic pressure, as the preliminary reports that are being told so far in the statements that we have also confirmed. Because the parents had also in fact told the children to stop, like in a normal usual manner in which parents advise children to keep a tab on the subjects in the study. But these three children, these three girls, they used to also play the games together. So they used to revolt on many incidents, and given if they were also told to not if they were told or threatened, they would also go to extreme steps. But of course the parents did not see that coming. But what really happened on a particular incident that triggered this anger or triggered this resentment into the minor's mind is a subject for the probe as well. While there are concerns arising over how serious and overlooked this
All
issue
right.
has become, there has to be more scrutiny given by the statement of the police as well into the supervision by the parents. And now the probe will also reveal further details how exactly the trigger points really led up to this very shocking incident coming from Ghaziabad.
Absolutely. Okay, so there are so many questions right now. From the initial inputs, this seems very suspect, and we're not obviously going to be speculating and commenting on the mental state of these minors. We are going to have to wait for more information on this as well. Thank you so much for the initial inputs on this, Simran. Of course, there's so much more that seems to be at play here. Let's shift our focus for now. The BJP spokesperson, Shehzad Poonawala's mother, injured in Pune, hit and run. BJP spokesperson said that his mother was seriously injured after being deliberately hit by a car. We're playing out those visuals for you on your screens right now as well in Pune, and appeal to police to swiftly arrest the accused. In a series of posts on X, Shehzad Poonawala alleged that an unidentified person intentionally ran a vehicle over his mother and fled the scene. He said his mother would undergo surgery soon, and also sought prayers for her recovery, and shared a photograph from the hospital showing his mother on a bed with medical monitoring equipment visible all around her. He's appealed to the police to ensure the person responsible is quickly apprehended and brought to justice. You can see the visuals playing out on your screen right now as well. Yesha, we have the CCTV footage of this. Seems extremely suspect at this point. We're seeing this car slowly reversing, and she is in the line of vision there as well. So what really happened? And he is saying that this was intentional. From what we can see right now, doesn't seem very far off. What can you tell us?
So yes, this very visual that you see has reported from Pune. Clearly, we've seen that Shehzad Poonawala and his elder brother Tehsin Poonawala, they've they've taken to social media to speak about this scene. Wherein sharing the CCTV, they've said that while at a petrol pump at Pune, his mother was weeping. Wherein the CCTV shows how the car was taking a reverse, and that's why it hit the mother. Now, Shazad Kunala has also alleged that this very person who was driving the vehicle, in fact, hit her and then ran away. On the basis of the information that we've gotten from Pune police, they've gotten to know about the incident. They are to register an FIR very soon. However, now the identification of the person in this case who was behind the wheels is yet to be done. That will be done on the basis of the FIR. But yes, so far showing the details, while the incident was reported yesterday, both Shazad and Tehsil had reported this to not only Pune police but also to the chief election of the state, Devendra Fadnavis, and they said that a strong action should be taken against the concerned person involved in this. So clearly, amidst all of this, now questions have been raised as to who was it behind the wheels? How was it that you not noticed that a person was standing right behind when he was sitting in the reverse? And amidst all of this, of course, the allegations that have been leveled by the BJP leader is that it was all done intentionally, so as to and the person ran away from the site when the accident took place. Of course, so far the Pune police has not really issued a statement on this. What we also know is that the mother of Shazad Punawala, she has been admitted at a hospital at Pune where she should get done a surgery today, and she's recovering there. Details, in fact, speak about how she was injured on the hip and a hip surgery has to be done today.
Absolutely, of course, Yasha, as you mentioned, the identification has not been done yet. Of course, that will offer a lot of clues as to what really happened here, what could be the motivation. Is there any clarity? Have you been able to gauge anything on that front?
So yes, so far we have to wait to understand what really led to this very incident. Neither police nor Shazad has gone ahead to speak about this very incident. What's important to note at this point is that we have to seek some clarity from the cops, because when it comes to this very incident, neither there has been a police statement that has been reported, but whether this was an internal rivalry, whether this was reported out of accident, or it was negligence on the part of the driver, all of this could only be clarified once the FIR has been registered and cops further have any kind of investigation that is done in this case. Because so far we do not have details about who the driver was. In fact, what you see in the CCTV is the fact that the car is visible. Whether the car belonged to someone who is local, whether there was any kind of was there any kind of intentional hit and run. All of this is something that's not yet clear, and we have to wait to understand this on the basis of the further investigation done by Pune police. Yes.
Absolutely. Of course, we are going to have to wait for more findings on that front as well. But he has said that his mother was seriously injured. She used to undergo surgery soon. We have the visual of that as well. Is there any update on her condition?
So yes,
all right, Yash, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Sorry, we're getting some more information right now. Breaking news just coming in. CNN News 18 mega exclusive that we're bringing for you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to visit Israel in the last week of February. As per sources, official dates will likely be announced shortly. For New Delhi, this visit is important to show that India is an active stakeholder and shaping outcomes through technology, through security cooperation and economic stability. According to sources, the relationship with Israel is important as India is a balancing partner with Gulf. Also, groundwork between the two governments is already underway, indicating the visit is firmly on track. The focus of the visit will be future-facing cooperation, especially in science and technology, defense, innovation, quantum technology, cybersecurity, and advanced agriculture sectors. These are the areas where India-Israel collaboration has already delivered tangible outcomes. Multiple MOUs are expected covering culture, covering defense cooperation, science and technology, cyber security and quantum research, as I mentioned earlier. Now, this is the latest that we're getting for you. This is what the sources are telling us. According to sources, this is a shift from transactional defense ties to a long-term strategic and deeper knowledge-based partnership beyond the bilateral agenda. This visit carries a strong regional message. India is actively and confidently engaged in the Middle East, positioning itself as a stable, technology-driven partner, and huge market sources in the government say this is an important visit at a time of geopolitical instability and security realignments in the region. Strategically, this outreach shows India's expanding West Asia Middle East footprint. According to sources, this engagement with Gulf states is important because Middle East is also keeping India in the loop in all developments. For more on this, we have Akanksha Swaroop live with us. Akanksha, thank you so much for joining me. How do you assess this development, Prime Minister Modi to visit Israel in the last week of February? Dates, of course, are yet to be announced. How significant is this?
Of course, it's also going on to indicate India's expanding outreach in the Middle East and the kind of stakeholder that India is, especially when it comes to sort of mediating for peace. We all know that Israel is currently in a war as far as Gaza is concerned. There is a lot of talk being done at the moment. We've seen how the US President has in fact come up with that board of peace, for which India is yet not completely decided, but more importantly, perhaps we can expect greater clarity as Prime Minister Modi pays that visit to Israel in the last week of February, the details of which are yet to be thrashed out. But inputs that we are receiving from our investigations editor Manoj Kumar Gupta, we are being told that it's going to be a very critical visit. Remember, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu are known for their bonhomie. They also share a very warm equation, just like the way Prime Minister shares with other heads of state. And so we can expect a host of MOUs being declared during this visit that could in fact span across culture, defense cooperation, more importantly, even cyber security. In fact, Israel has of late been giving India a lot of technology when it comes to cyber security and defense. A lot of it was also helping us during Operation Sindoor. So we'll have to see how India and Israel are going to join hands as far as counter-terrorism operation is concerned. That happens to be another area of focus for India and Israel, given that Israel has stood steadfast in India's own fight when it comes to terrorism coming out of Pakistan or even Iran, because they themselves have borne the brunt of Hamas terror infrastructure after October 7. They have in fact always stood in solidarity when it comes to India's fight against terrorism and vice versa. So we can expect a lot of diplomacy to be taking place in the last week of February, and according to sources, this engagement with the Gulf state is important because Middle East is also keeping India in the loop in all developments. Remember the goodwill that India also shares when it comes to the OIC nations. So as far as a peaceful resolution to the conflict in Gaza is concerned, Prime Minister has always urged for dialogue and diplomacy. Prime Minister's role is very important at the moment because remember, we were the first ones to also recognize Palestinian Authority, and so as a country which in fact shares good equations between Palestine and Israel both, India is very uniquely positioned in sort of bringing Israel and the issue of Palestine to a peaceful resolution. So we'll have to see how this meeting in fact shapes up, but we can tell you that when it comes to science and technology, cyber security, even defense, you can expect all of these MOUs and a technology driven partnership to be shaping up between India and Israel.
Absolutely, Akanksha. As you mentioned, this only reflects India's growing role in West Asian politics as well. At a time of increased volatility and high tensions, we are of course waiting to see what sort of an role India is going to play going forward as well. As you mentioned earlier, India was extended an invite to the Board of Peace by the United States as well, something that of course there is no clarity on yet. Do you think that could be something that could be ascertained by way of this visit?
Right. Perhaps after Prime Minister Modi pays that visit and has an in-person discussion with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he'll also have a clearer picture, because remember, even Israel is not really happy with the way the Board of Peace is being worked out. They were not in favor of the fact that Pakistan was willing to be a member of the Board of Peace, but is not willing to assist when it comes to, say, disarming Hamas. Same goes for Turkey. So Israel personally is in fact looking at it with a lot of skepticism. The presence of these countries like Pakistan and Turkey, which very much believe in Muslim Brotherhood. So India will also come up with its own assessment perhaps after Prime Minister Netanyahu has had this meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. And remember, it was earlier, just days ago, that CNN News 18 broke the news of how Israeli envoy to India, Ambassador Reuven Azar, had already announced that it will be Prime Minister Modi who will be paying that visit to Israel. So it would be interesting to see how it all works out. In fact, in the latest, Israel has also dismissed the emblem that has been chosen by the US and that multilateral framework for the Board of Peace. They are saying that this is an emblem which calls for a Palestinian Authority, and how can you give an acknowledgement to the Board of Peace with an emblem that is of the Palestinian Authority. So they feel that this Board of Peace, which was meant to resolve the conflict in Gaza, is becoming heavily lopsided in favor of Palestine, and whether or not it will be able to ensure the complete destruction or say the end of Hamas is a critical concern for Israel. And at the same time, many have spoken about how this Board of Peace will also be challenging a multilateral framework of the UNSC. And many, including Prime Minister Modi, have spoken about how the UNSC and multilateral forums like the UN are losing their relevance, whether it is WTO or even the UNSC. So we can expect a discussion between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu with regards to multilateral frameworks as well, like the UN.
Right. Well, Akanksha, thank you so much for your insights on this. Of course, we will continue to track all developments on that visit as well. And as and when the dates come, we will, of course, surely update all of our viewers on that. Also, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We're going to call it a wrap, but don't go anywhere. News and updates will continue on the other side on CNN News 18. Do stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Now remember, on one hand, you've had the MAGA base, which has, of course, been drawing the line in the sand about how there should be greater pressure being mounted on India in terms of these tariffs. But on the other hand, you also have the Indian American community, which has been rallying for Washington and New Delhi to finally arrive on the same page. And so CNN News 18 has been bringing you all those voices. Let's listen in to what Nisha Biswal, one of the entrepreneurs from the United States, has had to say. Nisha, thank you for joining in on CNN News 18. You've, of course, welcomed the trade agreement, which is yet not a deal. And you've also focused on how much will rest on the implementation of it. Why do you say so?
Well, first of all, great to be with you. Look, it's an exciting moment in time right now after nearly a year of watching U.S.-India ties be strained because of the trade tariffs. So this is an important moment. It is not a trade agreement per se. It's a phase one agreement. There are certainly more chapters to be negotiated, but it's an important moment. I think, first of all, removing the 50% tariffs and replacing that with an 18% rate. While 18% is not ideal, it does actually place India much more competitively vis-a-vis its peers across Asia and frankly the rest of the world, with only Europe and the UK being able to have better outcomes. Secondly, I think that it removes a huge irritant in the relationship. I think the US and India have important issues that they need to be able to collaborate and cooperate on, important strategic challenges that they face, areas where we have a great deal of convergence. And so this removes an irritant and allows that cooperation to continue. And I think it's a really positive sign that Minister Jaishankar is here in Washington this week for the Critical Minerals Summit, where both India and the US and many of our partners across Europe are facing some serious challenges from Chinese dominance in the critical mineral supply chain. So I look forward to that resumption of US-India cooperation.
It's very interesting that you talk about the critical minerals ministerial meet being presided over by the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. India has one of the largest reserves in the world, but lacks the technology to refine it. The US also has...
Good morning and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Walia. First up, we start this edition of news with the day's top headlines. We're tracking at 10 this morning. Amid Parliament showdown over Rahul Gandhi's China claims, 8 opposition MPs suspended. More drama and protests expected today. Amid ruckus in Parliament, Prime Minister Modi to speak in the House likely at 5 p.m. In more news, BJP spokesperson Shehzad Poonawala's mother injured in a Pune hit-and-run case alleges deliberate attack. Sources in the government say that India and US have agreed on the first phase of bilateral trade agreement. That's what they've decided to call this. India and US will now work on finalizing the joint statement followed by signing of the deal. After India-US deal details trickle in, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets US Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington ahead of an inaugural ministerial on critical minerals. Politics erupts over trade deal. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal blames Rahul Gandhi for not letting the government share details about the US-India trade deal in Parliament because of what he called ugly scenes created by him. Ex-Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's son killed by armed gang who stormed his house in western Libya's Sintan. First, we start with breaking news coming in from West Bengal. We're learning that the Bengal SR hearing, remember, will be taking place in the Supreme Court. And now, Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has sought to argue her own case. The Chief Minister's left from 181 South Avenue to reach the Supreme Court. She will be in court number 1. Close to 10:30 a.m. She's decided to fight this legal battle from the front line by arguing for her own case. This is Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee leaving her residence to appear in the Supreme Court. She's left from 181 South Avenue to reach the court premises. She will be in court number 1 close to 10:30 a.m. So we're going to break down details of how that plays out in the Supreme Court. But the SR case reaching the Supreme Court this morning, and Mamata Banerjee leading from the front. She's going to be arguing her own case is the big story we're tracking. More than the legal battle here, Mamata Banerjee is certainly sending out a strong message of intent, going straight to the Election Commission, because do remember there's a lot of back and forth we've seen between Mamata Banerjee and the Election Commission officials over the SR exercise in West Bengal, and Mamata Banerjee has strictly opposed it from day one. In the latest, we're learning she's left her residence. She'll be appearing in the case. She'll be arguing the case on her own and has now left her residence to reach the Supreme Court shortly. Shortly, she will be seen in the Supreme Court premises, and the legal battle will be taken forward by none other than the Trinamool Congress Supremo and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, upping the ante against the Election Commission. Do remember, she's also not let go of this charge against the BJP, and she has more often than not alleged collusion between BJP and the Election Commission on multiple levels, especially when it comes to the SR exercise. I do want to go across for a quick legal update to Ananya Bhatnagar, who joins us this morning. Good morning, Ananya. What more can you share? This is going to be unprecedented, isn't it? But how does this really look to be playing out in the Supreme Court with Mamata Banerjee arguing her own case?
Well, absolutely. In fact, it's yet not clear that she'll be arguing or not, but definitely she'll be appearing before, in fact, the Supreme Court as a petitioner before, in fact, the bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Surya. And clearly, it's a historic day. It's for the first time that a sitting Chief Minister is before the court to argue or to present herself before a court of law, at least before the Supreme Court of India, in order to present her case before the topmost court of the country. This is with regards to the SIR. She had filed a petition, and if I'll show you around, this is in fact the sea gate of the topmost court of the country, from where Mamata Banerjee would be entering inside the premises of the topmost court of the country. And this is the route that she'll be following. If I'll show you around, this is the Supreme Court. And from here, she'll be walking towards the Chief Justice's court. If you could see those stairs in front of me, these are the stairs from where, in fact, Mamata Banerjee would be walking upstairs. And the gate that is there in the front is the court of the Chief Justice of India, the court number 1 of the Supreme Court, where Mamata Banerjee would be appearing before the Supreme Court as far as her petition with regards to the SIR is concerned. And very clearly, if you can see, this is when we talk about the Supreme Court, it is a very, very historic day, because the sitting Chief Minister coming before the Supreme Court, fighting the upping its ante against, in fact, the Election Commission of India. How would this rollout is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. But one thing is for sure, Christine, that there will be a lot of drama unfolding today as far as this hearing before the topmost court of the country is concerned.
Okay, let's for a moment zoom out a little, Ananya, and talk about why this is unprecedented in so many ways. We've seen several opposition leaders take to courts opposing the SR exercise, but like you rightly pointed out, for the first time ever, a sitting Chief Minister has sought permission to appear in person in the SIR case. She may also personally present arguments before the Supreme Court. Do we have clarity on that, and how does that really work out during a Supreme Court hearing? Can she come in as she pleases to present her own set of arguments? What's the legality that lies there, Ananya?
You know, two things for sure. One is that until yesterday, what we were told by the legal sources, as far as TMC's legal team is concerned, that they told us that she'll be arguing as well. But later on, the plan was actually changed. But if at all there's another change in plan and she plans to argue, she definitely has the right, not only as a citizen of this country, but also because Mamata Banerjee is a law graduate. She has been practicing until as late as 2003. And that's exactly why, you know, she's also a lawyer. So very clearly, she has all the rights to actually argue before the topmost court of the country. How would that shape up? How would all of this be turning out is something that would be very, very crucial to see. But very clearly, in next few moments from now, in the next few minutes, we'll see that the Chief Minister would be here at the Supreme Court of India and would be presenting her case as far as this ante against the SIR is concerned.
Okay. In her application, she said she's well acquainted with the facts of the case. She's aware of the court's decorum and procedures, which is a strong indication, isn't it, Ananya, of how she may personally present arguments in the case. And having said all of that, she also does have an LLB degree. So strong indications coming in, Ananya. Okay, we'll just reconnect that line with Ananya Bhatnagar, who will be getting us all those courtroom updates, how this plays out minutes from now in the Supreme Court. Mamata Banerjee, remembers, likely to enter the Supreme Court premises close to 10:30 a.m. She may personally present arguments in the SR case, is what we're learning as well. Do remember, she's been strongly pushing for impeaching the Chief Election Commissioner. She sought multiple meetings with Election Commission officials as well. And she's gone on to constantly maintain that she doesn't feel convinced about the manner in which the Election Commission has heard her concerns or has addressed her concerns. But let's talk about Mamata Banerjee's plea against the SR. Let's quickly break down details of how this has played out so far, what Mamata Banerjee has alleged. We're quickly putting out some of these big takeaways. What she's alleged is that this violates constitution and citizenship proof against 2002 cutoff date. What she's seeking is that elections take place as per old rules. So pre-SR exercise is what should be considered as her appeal, that elections held on the basis of 2025 voter list. That's the demand that's coming in. What she has alleged is once again against the SR exercise is that this was conducted with undue haste and it has caused mass disenfranchisement. Apart from that, what she's now seeking is why she's moving the Supreme Court, or is going to be personally perhaps also presenting arguments, is that automatic corrections for spelling mistakes, for logical discrepancies, etc. need to be addressed. She says so far these concerns have not been addressed by the Election Commission. She's also alleged arbitrary document rejection, illogical hearings, unclear instructions. That's the constant complaint lodged by Mamata Banerjee. She's personally attempted to raise this with the Election Commission on multiple occasions. What she's seeking now from the court is that all competent authority issued ID documents be accepted as valid proof. I do want to go across to Ananya Bhatnagar as we break down details of what her concerns have been all this while and where is she seeking relief from the courts. I do want to bring in Ananya. Ananya, we were speaking of the legal background or the acumen Mamata Banerjee possesses. She does have a LLB degree, and to the court as well, she's clearly communicated that she is well aware of the process and the decorum of the court, which is a strong indication in itself.
Well, absolutely, it's a strong indication as far as things are concerned. But a big update that I should give you is that Mamata Banerjee is just a few meters away from the Supreme Court's premises, and she might enter the topmost court of the country any time now. Very clearly, at this particular point of time, she will be entering the courtroom. She'll be coming through Gate C of the Supreme Court, and her car would, since she's a Z+ protectee, she'll be directly, coming towards Gate C of the Supreme Court, and would be entering to the stairs of the court number 1 of, in fact, the Supreme Court of India. It's the central courtyard of the Supreme Court where Mamata Banerjee would be entering from. And very clearly at this particular point of time, it would be very, very clear that, we'll see that the Chief Minister would be entering inside the premises of the Supreme Court.
We just recollect that line with Ananya. He's taking us through all the live developments set to unfold in minutes from now as he shared details on how Mamata Banerjee is just a few meters away from the Supreme Court. Do remember earlier on the 19th Jan hearing, the court had directed Election Commission to ensure transparency and also avoid inconvenience to voters. It had ordered that names flagged under logical discrepancies be displayed at Gram Panchayat Bhavans and also block offices where voters could submit documents and objections. But we've seen non-stop back and forth between the Election Commission and Mamata Banerjee. In fact, the Election Commission very recently hitting out against Mamata Banerjee spoke of how she misbehaved, thumped the table and left. The Election Commission rejecting Mamata Banerjee's allegations against Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar. So on the sidelines, this is the kind of verbal clash that is currently on and is only seeing an escalation the last few hours between the Chief Election Commissioner and Mamata Banerjee. In fact, several sources have been claiming that Mamata Banerjee had raised false allegations. She misbehaved, she thumped the table and left, and this is only source-based. But for now, the SR showdown reaching the Supreme Court, and Mamata Banerjee, more importantly, may be personally presenting arguments before the court. So this is the latest update on Election Commission versus Mamata Banerjee over the SR exercise. Like I said, the Election Commission had defined logical discrepancies, as was highlighted by the court as well, as inconsistencies linking to the 2002 electoral roll, such as parent name mismatches or age gap below 15 years or above 50 years. The bench had also noted back on the 19th of Jan that nearly 1.25 crore voters had been placed under this category. Mamata Banerjee clearly feels unheard. She says that the Election Commission has not been able to address her concerns. She's decided to move the Supreme Court, and now, minutes from now, in fact, she could be seen entering the court premises as well. Mamata Banerjee has moved the Supreme Court, and now she's also named Election Commission and the West Bengal Chief Electoral Officer as parties. In fact, if we just focus on her petition seeks dismantling of the SR exercise and also conducting 2026 assembly elections strictly on the existing 2025 voter list. Kamalika Sengupta joins us with more details. Mamata Banerjee in the national capital shortly to enter the court premises. And the big news today that we're tracking, Kamalika, is that she may choose to personally present her own arguments.
This is confirmed that she will be placing her own argument. She